Free agency has opened up here for your Washington Nationals, and of course, we are rumored to sign some big players, but one that's a little surprising is Alex Bregman. So what are the odds that the Nationals go after World Series champion Alex Bregman?
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals for all your latest Nationals news and notes. Make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And while you're at it, search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, and of course, over on YouTube as well for that video feature. And of course, hit that subscriber button, drop a thumbs up, or even a thumbs down. Whatever you want is what will make me happy. Later on in today's show, we will discuss Jacob Young getting snubbed by Brenton Doyle of the Colorado Rockies. He won his second straight Gold Glove Award in center field, and no biases, he got snubbed. So we'll discuss that a little bit later on in today's program. In the second segment, Joey Gallo has entered free agency. The Nationals declined his option, and Joey Gallo was never going to come back. But what's the future over at first base? Who should the Nationals target? Because there is a glaring hole now at first, and we need help. We'll discuss that in the second segment of today's program. But before we get into Alex Bregman and the rumors of him signing with DC, a little bit weird, am I right? There's Brady House, one of the Nationals' top prospects. If Alex Bregman comes to town, what will happen? Well, before we jump into that, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So, I saw this just a few days ago, and I thought this was really interesting. Kylie McDaniel of ESPN, he's covered prospects, he covers Major League Baseball. He said in his piece of putting out the top 50 free agents that Bregman seems to be a primary target of the Astros and your Washington Nationals, which he added a very widely rumored landing spot for Alex Bregman. Before we get into it, how could the Nationals make this work? Because here's the thing. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, well, what about Brady House? Brady House has been someone that I've been very high on. We've talked a lot about Brady House and the anticipation that we have waiting for his debut, hopefully coming early on this season. But if the Nationals do try and go after an Alex Bregman type, that would change the trajectory of a Brady House. And in my opinion, I think that would mean the Nationals would try to move off him this offseason. So let's say the Nationals do go out there and sign an Alex Bregman. I do think that opens up a world of possibilities, and it starts with Brady House being traded. And connecting the dots here, it does kind of make sense as to why the Nationals would go after an Alex Bregman type. Listen, back in 2011, when the Nationals signed Jason Worth from the Philadelphia Phillies, it became a pretty shocking deal that not many people around Major League Baseball was expecting, number one, for Worth to get that type of deal, and number two, for Jason Worth to come to DC. But one thing stands true this year compared to 2011. Number one of the top Scott Boras free agent clients, which is Alex Bregman. And we all know Scott Boras, the Lerner family, and Mike Rizzo, they do have some sort of connection. There have been a ton of Scott Boras clients here in DC. Just to name a few: Juan Soto, Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, Anthony Rendon, Bryce Harper. There have been tons of Scott Boras clients. Joey Gallo from this past season. I think if the Nationals do decide to go this route, would I be okay with it? Meh. I'd be fine with it. Alex Bregman is a good player, but let's be honest here. I do think some of his best years are in the past. He's going to be 31 years old on opening day this season. And even then, one thing that I do not love about Alex Bregman, his numbers have steadily declined since 2019. In 2020, in that short 60-game season, he had an 801 OPS. In 2021, he was hurt for a majority of that season, had a 777 OPS. 2022, 820 OPS, 2023, an 804 OPS, and this last season was probably his worst at a 768 OPS. Now, he also didn't win a Gold Glove, and he had a 4.1 WAR. Alex Bregman, though, I feel as if his MVP kind of seasons where he finished second in MVP voting back in 2019 are way beyond him at this point. I think the Nationals could probably get a little bit more bang for their buck, and also a lot cheaper deal. I think the Nationals at this point in time, if they do go out there and sign Alex Bregman, it would be good because you're bringing someone who has won a ton in Houston, bring him over to be a franchise kind of leader, to lead guys like James Wood, to lead, Dylan Cruz and all the other young pieces, and also share the left side of the infield with CJ Abrams, who was an all-star this last year. It would be good because you need a veteran leader like an Alex Bregman. But also, I can't get past the fact that if the Nationals do go this route, I don't see any other way around this. You would have to trade Brady House. Now, I'm sure you could find ways of Brady House playing maybe left field or second base, or maybe you move Alex Bregman up to the middle infield and he plays second base. But even then, if you're going to have him at second base, what happens with Luis Garcia Jr.? If the Nationals do go after Alex Bregman, which, by the way, he won the Gold Glove for third baseman in 2024. If you're going to sign him to play third base, you're probably going to leave him there for now. If the Nats do go that route, someone will be traded. And I think it will be Brady House. Now, with that said, the Nationals, they need starting pitching help. You need that. Who would you try and go after at this point? Because the Nationals are linked to a ton of different names, from starting pitchers who are like bottom of the barrel, kind of Kyle Gibson types from the Baltimore Orioles or from the St. Louis Cardinals, rather, this past year. You've got other guys who are in the mix who could be in the Nationals kind of realm of possibilities here. But you're going to have to decide on what you want. And if the Nats do go after Bregman, ask yourself this: what do you do with Brady House? You have to trade him. And I'm not sure if I'm ready for that possibility. Now, there are good things to come with Alex Bregman. Again, Gold Glove caliber third baseman. That's locked in. Great. But also, 31 years old, and the projection of the contract that Kylie McDaniel has to give him, it's pretty hefty. 6 years, $187 million. $31.2 million AAV. I think the Nationals would probably have to push that even a little bit more. Probably 6 years, $195. The reason why I say that, you have to pay a loser's tax. The Nationals at this point in time, if you are going to get big, splashy free agents, you're going to have to overpay. Because let's just say a team out there, I don't know, let's say the Brewers. I don't think they would go after Bregman for this kind of contract. But let's just say they do. And they offer him 6 years, $180 million. And the Nationals are offering him 6 years, $187 million. The Brewers are set up for success. They won the division this last year. They're a very good team. They've got a very bright future of young prospects around them. He would likely try to play with them rather than with the Nationals at this point. Because you look around the NL East, the New York Mets made the NLCS. They're expected to make some big moves this offseason. You got the Philadelphia Phillies. They're in the possibility of making a big move as well. They're ready to win now. Then you also have the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves are an aging team. You've got Max Fried, who is a free agent this year, but still, you expect them to be very good again this season when you have Acuna coming back healthy at some point in 2025. You are going to have to be the best salesman ever to get an Alex Bregman in this building. And not even just an Alex Bregman, a Pete Alonso type. Let's just say a Max Fried or a Corbin Burns. So if the Nationals do go that route, number one, you're going to have to overpay. And number two, you're going to have to trade away one of your players. whether it's Brady House, Luis Garcia Jr., or someone in that fold. But I do think this is a realistic possibility. And I do think if the Nationals try to go that route, if they do sign Bregman, which is very realistic, then you'd have to trade one of those pieces, Brady House or Luis Garcia Jr., to get starting pitching through the building. Because I can't go all in and say that the Lerner family will turn around and say, we'll also give Corbin Burns a huge deal. We'll give Max Fried a big contract. I just don't think that's realistic from this organization at this point. Prove me wrong. I would love to be proved wrong. But at this point, I can't believe in that. So I do think Bregman signing here is realistic, but ultimately, at what price? We'll see what the Nationals decide to do. We'll have our eyes on that as Alex Bregman is one of the premier free agents this offseason, one of the bigger names across Major League Baseball. So we'll have that discussion all offseason long here on Locked On Nationals. But before we get into Joey Gallo in the future over at first base, let me tell you guys about some of our friends over at Robinhood. And of course, we've told you all about Robinhood for quite some time. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privilege of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change, and gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Now, let me tell you guys about some of our also very good friends over at Arena Club. And of course, we've told you about Arena Club, but for most of us that like collecting cards, the idea of spending $2,000 or more on an Elly De La Cruz or Patrick Mahomes rookie card just isn't in the cards. I love collecting. That's some serious money to drop. Thanks to slab packs from arenaclub.com. Now it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of their retail price. Every card I listed was hit from last week's Arena Club slab pack drop. And Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. And of course, I can tell you guys, when I opened up my slab pack from arenaclub.com, I got an Elly De La Cruz rookie card, and I also got a Shohei Ohtani card as well. And Arena Club slab packs are revolutionizing the repack game with transparency. And right now, you can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/lockedonmlb and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's arenaclub.com/lockedonmlb, code LOCKEDONMLB for 10% off your first purchase. And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. Catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and check us out over on YouTube. Search Locked On Nationals and hit that subscriber button. Now let's discuss Joey Gallo, as he is going to hit free agency as the Nationals declined his option, which was the right decision, unequivocally speaking here. But what is the future at first base? I think the future at first base will come in free agency, but who will it be? If the Nationals, again, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier on this show, what are the Nationals going to do? Like, if the Nats do decide to go after an Alex Bregman, I think trying to go after a Pete Alonso type is out the window. I just don't see the Nationals spending that kind of money this offseason. Because also, not only is Joey Gallo headed for free agency, but Joey Meneses cleared waivers along with Ildemaro Vargas, and it certainly feels as if that there is going to be something happening over at first base. So what will it be? Do the Nationals stick with Juan Yepez, and he's going to be your first baseman? Is it going to be Andres Chaparro? Move him over to the corner there? We just don't necessarily know at this point in time. But sitting here today, rather than an Alex Bregman type, it feels as if the Nationals are ramping up to make a move over at first base. Now, again, both the Joeys are gone. Joey Gallo and Joey Meneses. I don't expect either of them back in this organization in 2025. It feels as if the Nationals will go after a Pete Alonso type, which, by the way, has been rumored as well. I saw on MLB Trade Rumors, one of their analysts there said that they think the Nationals will be going after Pete Alonso, and one of them even predicted that the Pete Alonso will sign here in DC. So there are some rumors of the Nationals trying to get a first baseman here in the building. And by the way, I think this is the Nationals' bigger need rather than going after an Alex Bregman type. Now, there's two different things because I'm going to pin Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman here together. If the Nats do decide to go after one or the other, who would you prefer? And I think this is a bigger question than what is really just on paper here. There's two different characters. Alex Bregman, someone who has won multiple World Series, who has lived in his playoffs this entire career. And then you have Pete Alonso, who has been a very good player, hits 50-plus home runs seamlessly every single season, but someone who hasn't really won and hasn't really won in October in particular. So which one will the Nationals value? Because I do, sitting here today, I think Pete Alonso would be more valuable to this club on paper. I think helping with the home run category, helping with power, giving James Wood and Dylan Cruz and C.J. Abrams a break as well in the middle of that lineup, I think that's a huge deal. But also on the other side of the coin here, if you go after an Alex Bregman, this is someone who will be a clubhouse leader, someone who has won before, so who can kind of teach the ways if you do and when you do make it to October baseball again, how will the Nationals handle that? I think the Nationals will probably lean towards Alex Bregman for those factors right there. But in my opinion, you should go after a Pete Alonso type, and that should be your future over at first base. You need power. That is one of your main needs this offseason. A clubhouse leader, it's on that radar as well. It just is. You would have thought that, or I would have thought, that C.J. Abrams would be that guy for you, but unfortunately, the way that the season ended this past year didn't really help him too much. I'm not saying the Nationals are down on him. I haven't heard any of that. But I do think that him being sent down to AAA after staying up until 8 a.m. before a 1 p.m. game in Chicago doesn't really scream clubhouse leader. And I was expecting C.J. Abrams to be a big clubhouse leader going forward, and I still think he can, by the way. He's young. He's 23 years old, just turned 24 a few weeks ago. But still, this doesn't scream clubhouse leader to you. You need a veteran kind of guy to come in this building and make a difference. And I think the Nationals will probably look at someone like an Alex Bregman, who is a Scott Boras client, and say, that will be our guy. We have worked with guys like Alex Bregman before. You have worked with big personalities like Jason Worth and Bryce Harper in the past. Alex Bregman will be no issue here. But I think you could probably make a little bit more bang for your buck signing a Pete Alonso type that knocks out a lot of different issues on paper. Going in there, hitting for power, adding separation for James Wood and Dylan Cruz and all your younger pieces here. Because I just don't think the Nationals really realize at this point in time that your glaring hole is at first base. You do have Brady House that can come up, and a lot of people in the building still believe in this guy as being a potential game changer at the major league level. I certainly believe in that. I don't know if the Nationals fully do, but I can tell you this, they're very high on him. It'll be interesting what the Nationals do decide to do. But the future at first base, to me, it just screams Pete Alonso or a Rhys Hoskins type who elected free agency or he did not, rather. But still, we'll see what the Nats decide to do. But right now, it's going to be an interesting offseason, to say the least. Next, let's talk about this. Jacob Young, snubbed in center field. Gold Glove. What went wrong? We'll discuss that after we tell you guys about some of our very good friends over at Game Time. And of course, I've told you guys about Game Time. And Game Time, it is, of course, a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. And Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And I can tell you guys about the super deal that I got from this last few weeks over when I got some nice tickets over at FedEx Field to watch the Commanders play. And of course, I got the super deal. And of course, I had to see the seat views before I got to buy my tickets. So of course, there was weird obstruction over at FedEx Field. And I can tell you this, I got the lowest price guaranteed while I got to see the price view of what I got at the game. And of course, all-in pricing, there's toggling this feature that shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. So you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Now, let me tell you guys about some of our very good friends as well over at FanDuel, and get ready to tackle the NFL action. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. And you get a hunch in the middle of the game. You can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, and never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Now we get back into it with discussing Jacob Young, as he was snubbed from the Gold Glove Award in center field. And you might be asking, well, Ryan, aren't you a little bit biased? Of course I am. But still, Jacob Young should have been the National League Gold Glover. And when talking about this, I thought that the Nats would probably get snubbed either way. But the fact that it did not go to Jacob Young, who was unequivocally the best center fielder in all of baseball this season, is absurd to me. And I do think that the bias is real against the Nationals. Brenton Doyle, though, won the Gold Glove last season in center field, which he deserved it. He was the best center fielder in all of baseball last year. So with that said, he stayed healthy. He had 20 outs above average, which was second in the league and was tied for the most five-star outs with 7 this season. Jacob Young was the best center fielder in all of baseball this season. But how is it not? Because all the numbers do point at Jacob Young winning it this year. And it just doesn't really make sense because Brenton Doyle had a higher fielding percentage. He had more assists, and he did have fewer errors. But still, looking at all the deep dive analytic numbers, it points to Jacob Young winning that award, and he simply did not. That it was just ridiculous, in my opinion. And finally, I do get to react to this because I was in Seattle. I just got back, and this is what we're left with. So I thought that was complete bogus, that the Nationals did not have him to win that award. They should have. This was something that was stunning, in my opinion. I thought it was a shoo-in that he would win the award. But unfortunately, for the second straight year, Lane Thomas didn't win the Gold Glove last year in right field, and now Jacob Young did not win it in center field this year. In my book, the guy's a Gold Glover. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. We will catch you on the flip side. We will talk to you tomorrow on Friday. And of course, get into more free agency rumors. The Nationals, they've got their names in a lot of different piles here. So we'll discuss that on tomorrow's program. But until then, enjoy the night. Enjoy Thursday Night Football. We'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.